Teaching without a license. I thought of a million things to say. The problem was that out of those million things, there was probably at least 900,000 that would instantly get me on Bloodbath's bad side. Chances are he didn't even have a good side. He seemed like the sort of kid who hurt his friends as quickly as he'd hurt anybody else. I figured the best thing to do was to let him think I was a spineless wimp who'd stand there and take whatever he did to me. Lesson 1, Bloodbath said, moving very close to me. This is my school. The teachers might think they run it, but I'm in charge. Got it? You're in charge, I said. As ridiculous as that sounded, the parrot routine seemed the safest way to go. It took a lot of effort to keep my voice from sounding like I was mocking him, but so far he hadn't knocked my head off, so I guess I was doing okay. He reminded me of those explosives that blow up when you touch them the wrong way. Sometimes they blow up without even being touched. 2. Anything you get, you share with me. You get a package from home, you share with me. He moved closer, pressing his chest against mine. I tried not to gag as his breath washed over me. Understand? No problem, I said. You can have everything I get from my folks. That was a painless promise. I wasn't expecting anything. Mom might have a moment of weakness and think about mailing me a box of cookies or something. But Dad wouldn't let her do that. You don't reward bad behavior, he'd say to her. Bloodbath was so close now I could count the hairs in his eyebrows. 3, you tell anyone about this and I'll kill you. Got it? I nodded. I didn't trust myself to open my mouth. One wrong word and he'd kick the crap out of me. And if there was anything that I had a talent for, it was saying the wrong word. Lots of wrong words. The craziest thing is that, as tense as I felt, part of me wanted to laugh in his face. Bloodbath smiled. Good. Now, just to make sure you understand my rules, here's a little something to help you remember. He stepped back and nodded at the other kid. Yeah, the other kid said. His voice reminded me of someone who'd sucked in a lungful of helium out of a balloon. He grinned, giving me a view of stained teeth jutting like a 50-year-old picket fence from his rotting gums. Here's a little something to help you remember. He punched me in the stomach. My first thought was, huh? I glanced down at his fist, which was still flat against my shirt, barely depressing the fabric. The kid had the weakest punch I'd ever felt. He'd hit me with about as much power as someone who would use to burp a baby. My second thought was that it might be smart if I pretended he'd hurt me. Then he'd leave me alone. But that thought came a couple of seconds too late. If I dropped down now, I'd look as phony as one of those professional wrestlers who spends about 5 minutes reacting to a kick in the face. Lip, how many times have I told you? Bloodbath asked. He reached out, grabbed Lip's shoulder, and yanked him aside. You've got to put your body into it, your whole body, and turn your shoulder, like this. Bloodbath lashed out and hit me in the stomach. As his first shot into my gut drove all the air out of my body, I bent over and then crumpled to the floor. For an instant, I didn't feel anything other than a huge numbness. That didn't last. Moments later, the pain flared out like an explosion. I curled up, waiting for the hurt to go away, and wondering if I'd ever be able to breathe again. I could dimly hear Lip through the waves of pain, saying, yeah, I got it, kind of like swinging a bat. I curled up tighter, hoping that Bloodbath wasn't going to start throwing kicks into my ribs or let Lip practice his punches on me. But it sounded like they were leaving. I'll catch you later, pal, Bloodbath said, walking out of the room and closing the door. I glanced over to make sure he'd left. A second later, he stuck his head back in. Oh, don't forget to shut the lights off when you leave. I turned my head away and closed my eyes. Even as I lay there, fighting the urge to throw up a breakfast I barely remembered eating, I thought about how I was going to get back at him. This was not the end of it. One way or another, Bloodbath would pay for hurting me. It might take a while, but I didn't think either of us was going anywhere in the near future. I'd have plenty of time to get even. The door opened again. I heard muffled footsteps. Don't feel bad, Torchy said. He greets all the new kids that way. I tried to answer, but I still couldn't catch my breath. So I lay there with my face in the rug. At least it was a nice rug, very deep and plush. Hey, cheer up, Torchy told me. He'll probably leave you alone for a while. He gets bored pretty easily. Come on, let me give you a hand. Torchy grabbed my arm and pulled. I managed to get to my knees. The pain was just a dull ache now, no worse than if a car had rolled over my stomach. I signaled for him to stop, then took several deep breaths. I felt like I was trying to force air into a hot water bottle. Finally, I got to my feet. So, you want to see any more of the school? Torchy asked. The cafeteria and the gym are on the first floor. No, I've seen enough. Thanks. The effort to talk cost me more than I was willing to give at the moment. I followed him upstairs towards the room, our room. There was a lot more people in the halls than before. I figured they were checking me out. Almost all the kids we passed stared at me, probably trying to guess how badly Bloodbath had hurt me. Word spread faster than fire in this place, and most of the students had probably been through the same little ritual with Bloodbath. I had to show them I was tough. I stood up straight and managed to walk into the room without grabbing my stomach or groaning. You got a nickname? Torchy asked after I'd collapsed on my bed. Nope. Well, lots of kids here have them. I've noticed. It didn't hurt as much, but I still wasn't eager to talk.